Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn. How are you doing today? I thought that I would show you how I color onto the Spellbinder's Glimmer specialty card. I this has been this is becoming my go-to cardstock for glimmering. I had my reservations when I first bought it, and I had been getting what I considered anyhow really good results with my Hammermill digital color copy paper, the super smooth one, 100-pound cover weight. It's the same paper that I use for my alcohol marker coloring, and I had been getting really good results, as I mentioned. And then I wanted to try this, and I was really blown away because the results, especially for some glimmer plates, it may not matter as much, but I feel like with the specialty card from Spellbinders, it doesn't matter what glimmer plate you use or throw at it, it's going to glimmer up really well. So from something like this that's large and but the lines are relatively thick, that tends to glimmer fairly well for me, even with Hammermill. But it's more the designs that have a lot of fine detail that can be a little bit more challenging on my Hammermill paper, but on this Glimmer paper, not a problem at all. I think part of it is that it's designed by Spellbinders, and the whole Glimmer system is designed by Spellbinders. So I think obviously they've probably done a lot of testing to ensure that it works really well. But I also think that part of it is that this paper isn't 100% paper in the sense of made from wood pulp or wood fibers. I think part of it must be a little bit plasticky or have some resin, because it's a little bit similar in feel and how it cuts to Yupo paper, which if you've done like alcohol ink techniques, you'll know that Yupo paper is more of a man-made material rather than from natural wood fibers. And so I don't know what the ratio is, if it's 100%, man-made materials or some part natural materials, some part man-made, but it definitely has that feel. And so when you're coloring, it feels a little bit different as well, because I'm coloring with water-based brush markers, and it does not absorb into the paper. It kind of stays on the surface, and it's really slick. Initially, I was using a water brush marker to get that more watercolor effect and to pull that color out. But because the pigment is just staying on the surface, I'm coloring a little bit differently than I would be coloring with these markers, than as if I was coloring onto watercolor paper. I'm almost coloring this similar to how I would color with alcohol markers. The difference being that I'm starting with my lightest color, and I'm doing, well, sometimes I do this with my alcohol markers. I do an entire wash of the lightest color, and then I just go in with a darker color to add that detail. And with these brushes, you can get really fine flick marks. I'm actually using two. I'm using one, the lighter color is my Ohuhu Real Brush water markers, and then the darker color is Nuvo Aquaflow marker. And you can get some blending, you can get some layering. It's really fantastic, because after I go in with that darker color, if I don't want the brush marks, then I go back in with a lighter color and sort of blend that out, and it moves the ink really well, I think, because the ink isn't soaking into the paper. What that means, though, is that you have to kind of be a little bit extra cautious when you're stamping or coloring onto this card, because you definitely want to make sure that everything has dried, like super dried. So I just stamped with a pigment ink. It's a I think it's Versamagic Dewdrop from Imagine Crafts, and because it's a pigment ink, it's a little stickier. Pigment inks already are made to, or by their composition, they already kind of stick to the surface of whatever substrate you're stamping on, even in the case of like a regular cardstock. But here onto a slick cardstock, I think that's like especially true. So I would definitely be cautious with anything that you do with this panel after. This is where I got the smudge, because I pushed down on that little plate that holds your paper down as you're cutting, and I was able to lift it a little bit and remove some of the smudging, but you'll see here on out, and the only thing that's left to do is just to put this onto my card base. But I was exercising super cautious precautionary measures to just not touch that area again. And in fact, with the watercolored areas, I started to, and I do this often just depending on whether I want to really make sure that I don't scratch the surface of anything, and that's just to lay down this nice soft shop cloth and then burnish over that, because my burnishing tool is really, really smooth, so it's not likely to scrape anything, but just out of an abundance of caution, I wanted to lay that down first. And of course I didn't burnish anywhere near my stamped sentiment, but it does color up beautifully. Of course, it glimmers like, a charm. I have not had a bad glimmer on this cardstock. So I would definitely recommend, if you are struggling with getting good results from your glimmering, to give this a shot. It's a little bit spendy, but it's worth it in the sense that if you can't get good results, you're wasting foil as well, by foiling onto other cardstocks that just aren't working as well for you. So you might be saving yourself a bit in foil, and also the time and frustration if you're struggling to get good results. So give it a shot. I'm adding it to my list of staples in all of my videos now, because it's my go-to. I only got the 10-pack to start, just to try it out, because like I said, I was skeptical at first, but they do have a 25-pack, and you'll get better cost per sheet if you get the larger pack. So once I run out, I'm only going to be getting the 25-pack, because it's just so worth it to me. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.